All right. Hope everybody's doing well. Start off with the game against Clemson. It was a hard-fought game. I thought our guys were excited, practiced well. It was a 4-quarter game, and as you watch the film and study what happened, they made a few more plays than we did. We made a few more mistakes than they did, and really that's what it came down to. You go back to our game with them a year ago that we won. It was kind of a role reversal. We made some catches. Emeka made a one-handed catch in the end zone. Devin Carter made a back shoulder catch. This year it was the other way around. And we had our opportunities. You got to give Clemson's players credit. They made some great plays. We had 2 turnovers that led to 10 points for them. And we dropped 2 interceptions. One right before the half would have prevented a score. They scored a couple plays later. The other, Aiden dropped, which might have been a pick 6. There was nobody on that side of the field. And we roughed the punter running into the punter, which led to 3 points. So there was a lot of points that were put on the board in plays that we were a part of, I felt. And not to discredit Clemson, they beat us in that game. But we definitely led to that by beating ourselves. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you lose a game like that, it comes down to a few plays, and sometimes you make them. And in this case, they did. So that's how you lose a game on the road. I do think their crowd was very, very impressive. And it's a factor when you have a D-line like them with a pass rush like they have, where Cadence usually is the offense's friend. In a game like that, everybody's getting off on the ball instead of on a cadence. And sometimes their D-line was better at it than our O-line, and now you're behind trying to protect on a pass rush. And you can see why they've won so many home games in a row. It's definitely an awesome environment to play in, and crowd noise for them is a huge weapon. From a positive standpoint on offense, I thought Thayer Thomas had a really good football game for us. And we were 100% scoring in the red zone. We were 100% in our short yardage and goal line situation plays, which was improvement. They opened the game with the drive for a score. We opened the game with an answer with the drive and a score, and both were long, sustained drives by both teams. It's weird to be in a game where there's only one possession each in one quarter with these 2 long drives. Negatives, we had 3 pre-snap penalties, and one of them really hurt us at the end of the game on a snap that became a fumble. We had 2 turnovers, which I already discussed, and we didn't have enough explosive plays, which you can credit to Clemson's defense. But we only had 5, and it's hard to score enough points, with drives that have to be sustained and sustained and sustained in a place like that. Defensively, I thought our defense battled. They kept us in the game. Our third down defense, for the most part, was on point, and we played hard. Negatively, we just at times started pressing and not trying to do our job, trying to do someone else's. And inevitably, when you do that, you make mistakes. They had too many explosive plays. They had 11 to our 5. And so that's an area we lost. And we didn't create a takeaway, and had 2 critical opportunities in the game. Just those 2 plays alone. If Devin Boykin has his, that's 1 touchdown off the board. If Aiden White catches his and scores, that's a 14-point swing in the game, in a game that we lost by 10 points. So this plays like that you have to make in games like that, particularly when you're on the road. On special teams, I was really proud of Chris Dunn. This was a game a year ago that he had his worst moment, in his career. And I know this was a game that he had circled. And to come back and kick the ball the way he did, to nail a 49-yard field goal and be perfect on all his attempts. Biggest disappointing part of the game for me, special teams wise, it's been an area that's helped us win games. And I felt, not that it killed us, but the penalty that extended a drive on a roughing running into the punter was very costly, led to a field goal. Positively, Chris Dunn, I thought did a great job. I thought our kicker on kickoffs, Colin Smith, our punter, our missile coverage, Daryl Jones really was a bright spot, covering punts, had a couple solo tackles. So a lot to play for, 8 weeks, 7 games, and that's kind of how we've broke it down. We got a 7-game season here, and as you know, the landscape of college football changes dramatically every week. every single week. And so it's a 1 week at a time deal. And this week we play a really good Florida State team, the most impressive Florida State team we've played in a long time. Coach Norvell and his staff deserve a lot of credit for the turnaround they've had down there. They signed 13 players from the portal. They're a much older team. And the guys that weren't portal guys are guys that have been with them now for 3 years and have bought in, and they understand the scheme. They understand the expectation. You can see they're playing really fast. Offensively, it's what you think. You turn on film against Florida State, and they usually have tremendously good skill players, and they do. Their receivers can all run, and they've got a 6'7" receiver, Wilson on the number 14 on the outside. Tight end Douglas is a great player. Their O-line's playing better. It's been an area they've struggled in the past, and they're playing much better on the O-line. They're very balanced, averaging 200 yards plus in rushing. So you got to give them credit. Offensively, they've improved a lot. On defense, they're fast. They don't do a lot, but they do it well. Their D-line is active, and number 5, the transfer defensive end, is in the backfield making plays, blocking kicks. They do play a lot of press coverage on the outside, not always, but play a lot of it and force you to make contact catches and get off of bump and run. And they're well coached on the special teams. John Papuchis is a really good football coach for them. They've blocked 2 kicks. They're point extra and field goal block teams. Their returners are same guys playing on offense that make plays. They're really good players. Excited to play. I'm excited to get back in Carter-Finley Stadium. Play in front of our fans. It's teacher, what is it? Teacher Appreciation Day. Yeah. Thank you. So we get to, praise the teachers that have helped us in our lives. And I know for all of us on this call and that'll be listening to it, there's somebody like that. I would ask you to reach out and say thanks to someone along the way that helped you, or maybe helping one of your sons or grandsons. But, I think it's a profession that's very underpaid and very difficult, and definitely a profession that deserves a lot of thank yous when they can get them. From our team standpoint, we're partnering with Walensky's Hope Foundation for College Football and Mental Health Week, eliminating the stigma and increasing mental health resources for universities and colleges. We're fortunate here. We have a great partnership with our mental health team, and Ariane, who works with football, does a tremendous job. Grant Gibson, Tim McKay, and Corey Durden are going to be a part of handing out things to our players after we have practice the next couple of days. And it's something that I think used to be looked at as, a weakness or a stigma. And now to us, and to those that are involved in this, it's about bringing awareness and understanding it's another resource that can help you grow. We don't just need help physically, but we need help mentally. And it's something that people should take advantage of if they're not. There's a lot of people coming out of COVID, as we all know, that suffered with mental health illnesses. And so, trying to bring awareness to that. And I know last year, Emeka Emezi did a lot with that with our team, with the Walensky Foundation, and we hope to continue that this year. Lastly, I think this is just an opportunity to respond. I think in life, you find out who you are when you're knocked down. It's easy to be everybody they want you to be when things are good. But the best way to get over that feeling is to go back to work, put your head down, focus on what led to success earlier. We know what the formula is for that here. It's a great week of preparation, a great week of practice. A 1-0 mentality doesn't mean you get to celebrate wins and then linger with losses. You have a 24-hour window, and for us, that window is over. So I'm excited about the opportunity to get back on the grass in the meeting room with our players and our staff and go back to work against a really good Florida State team. Questions?
James.
Yeah, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he's been there a while. I don't think you guys have faced Jordan Travis yet, mainly due to injury. Can you just evaluate what he adds to that offense, not having seen him yet?
No, you're right. He's been injured both years. So very athletic, first of all. I mean, he can run with the football. Comparing him last year to this year, last year I thought he was an athlete playing quarterback. This year he's a quarterback. He's throwing accurate passes. He's reading coverage. He's giving his receivers chances to make plays. He's moving around in the pocket, extending plays, not just to run. I think he ran to run, would scramble to run, where now he's continuing to keep his eyes downfield. He's playing really good football. And like most quarterbacks, the longer you play, the better you get. And he's got a lot more game reps now.
David.
Hey, Dave. I know Bryson Spees is really kind of like a Swiss Army knife for you guys, but it seems like he was at left tackle a good bit, especially in the second half. Is that something we should expect to see more often?
Yeah, I think, Spees is that for us. He can play every position but center. He probably could play there if we moved him there. But he's been rotating with Tim McKay and Belton in the game. We felt like we needed more help on the left side. It was a tough matchup at times. And sometimes you get in that environment and, just having a more experienced guy. Spees went in the game and handled the crowd noise better and was having more success. So we rode with him. But I've said this to you guys before. We look at all three of those guys as starters, and, it's great to have the ability to rotate guys and help, when one guy maybe he's not playing as good as he has been, and have an answer for that. It's nice to have that ability.
Aaron.
Hey, Dave, you guys didn't run the ball particularly well, obviously, and there weren't many openings up front. I guess, how do you balance the part of you're not going to face many fronts with that level of talent the rest of the year versus the amount of, how you guys executed in that game?
Well, I think you're right about the first thing. I think that D-line was special for them, really special. And so probably got a little impatient, Aaron, with the run game. When you get down by 2 possessions, sometimes that happens. I think the game flow did that a little bit in the second half. But, I think moving forward, we want to be more balanced than we were in that game. Sometimes with RPOs, the ball goes where the ball goes too. It's not because we didn't want to hand it off. The read told them to throw it. So sometimes those plays that are called are runs that are being called. It's just, if we're going to put a screen with the run and they don't play it, a certain way, we're going to throw it out there to the screen. And so, on the stat line, it'll look like we're not running the football a whole lot, but that's really not what's happening in the play call. So that happens a little bit too. But, I think it's a combination of a really good D-line, the RPO, how that played out, and us not being patient enough at times with running the ball.
Andrea.
Dave, you just mentioned this is an opportunity to respond. I'm wondering what you've seen out of the guys since you've been back, or what you need to see out of them during practice this week in terms of just their mindset when it comes to that.
Yeah, they were like all of us. We were tired, first of all, yesterday. We got home at 4 a.m., and so that doesn't help. But everyone was mad, frustrated, disappointed, tired. And by the end of it, they were ready to move on. And today, I know they'll have juice. They'll be ready to practice. And our leadership and experience on this football team will help in a situation like this. And last year, we had similar things. We lost a tough game by 1 to Miami and responded with one of our best games against Louisville, I think, the next week. So, I think it's just the team that knows how to do that, and we're gonna have our hands full. We got a really good team coming in here, but judging by how we've responded in tough situations in the past, I know this team will be ready to play on Saturday.
Todd Gibson.
Dave, you just kind of answered what I was just going to ask, but is there a couple of players on the team that you look for to help the guys through this, to get them on to next week that you can point towards to help them put the game behind them?
Yeah, I mean, you're veterans. We talked with the leadership council first and then with the team. But, Isaiah Moore, Devin Leary, Grant Gibson, the guys that are captains, Drake Thomas, that's where you look first. And then within the position groups, there's kids in each room, that understand that the season's not defined by one game, and it is if you allow it to be, and it turns into multiple games. So there was a lot of good things said in the room, and I know those guys will take it to heart. It is a close group, and there's a good demeanor about them. So there's no concern on that side. The concern is just we're playing a great team this week, So I don't think it's going to be whether or not we're ready to play. We got to play good enough to win.
Chip.
Yeah, Coach, I know you've talked a lot about Thayer Thomas and what he means to the team. Have you had many players that have maximized their talent to the point that from a walk-on basically to being a major cog in an offense like he is in yours?
Yeah, I mean, on defense at Wisconsin, we had J.J. Watt, who obviously is one of the greatest to ever play, that walked on. I haven't really on offense had a player like that. We probably had an offensive lineman at Wisconsin that was similar to that at a different position group, but Thayer's unique and what he's done here. I mean, if you really dig into his story and look at what he's done, like to his body since he got here too, like he's a 150 some pound guy. I mean, the pictures of him, obviously it's 5 years ago now. But talk about a change, physically, and he deserves all the credit for that, for the time and what he does on a daily basis, like from a recovery standpoint, what he does in the weight room, what he does in the training room, on the jugs machine and film study. He's very unique, and there's above the 1 percentile line when it comes to his work ethic.
Aaron?
Yeah, Dave, what would you say is the next step in sort of developing or growth for your receivers at this point?
I think just connecting on more deep balls, and this isn't all on them, right? I mean, we're overthrowing balls too. So I think just getting that downfield production to be more consistent, putting the ball where they can catch it for Devin Leary, giving those guys a chance to go up and make plays. And then when he does that, making the play. We've had a pretty good history here since Kelvin Harmon to Mecca Mezzi. I think Devin Carter does a nice job going up for deep balls, but we win a lot of 50-50 balls here. We have for a while. We need to get back to that. And that's not just on the receivers or the tight ends or the backs. It's the entire offense. Give the quarterback a chance to make that throw, then make the throw, and then go up and finish the play. I think that's the thing that we can improve on. We're catching the ball underneath. You're seeing some good yards after contact. The guys are blocking better than they have in the past. It's just being more explosive and connecting with them so they have a chance to be more explosive.
Brian Murphy?
Hey, Dave. Thanks for taking the call. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what's happening in the profession. I think we've seen 5 or maybe more coaches let go already this season. And what that kind of, says to you about, I don't know if it's the calendar change, the portal, the early signing date, or just less patience. But when you see colleagues of yours being let go so early in the season, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't really like it. I mean, I think it's crazy how hard we work all off season and summer and fall camp, and you sign kids, you develop kids, you get into the season, and then 3, 4, 5 weeks in, it's done. And as there's a lot of time left. There's 7 games left. I mean, if you win 7 games, I mean, even if you were 0-5, you're in a bowl game, and so there's a lot of season left. I don't disagree with you that a lot of these decisions are now being made because of the portal and because of early signing dates and people wanting to get in front of, recruiting their classes and things like that. The student athletes are the ones that are getting cheated right now because they're having to play their seasons with a lesser staff, in some cases, multiple coaches. I think Colorado fired their head coach and their defensive coordinator the other day. So it's just new, and it's going to be something we got to get used to, I guess. Things don't usually go back to the way they were when things start going faster in this world. So, but yeah, I don't think it's a great trend, but it's not my job to make those decisions.
Andrea?
Dave, as a follow-up to what Aaron asked about the receivers, obviously everyone likes to focus on the quarterback, and there were high expectations for Devin coming into the season. What's your evaluation of the way he's played so far?
I think some good, some bad. I think there's a multitude of things. It's hard to probably put in a couple sentences. I mean, he's had some games where he's really looked really good. And then in this last game, I thought he played really tough. He took some shots in the Clemson game and he just kept battling, and his toughness, his work ethic, He's throwing the ball underneath and intermediate really well. And I think from a deep ball standpoint, we just got to get that a little tuned up. But I think the first game, he was trying to be perfect. And after that, he's improved each week. And this last game, I thought he did some really good things. Just at times he didn't have a chance. Andrea, their pass rush was a factor in that game. So I think you have to give them some credit there too. But I'm excited about the direction he's going. I think he's really noticed some things that he can do. He's looking at little things. His leadership has been awesome. So I look forward to the next 7 games with him, and 1 week at a time.
Aaron?
Yeah, Dave, I know you guys, obviously the first priority is winning the game, but you just played in the first top 10 matchup in program history. You had the national TV audience, a lot of attention. There's the variables that go into each week outside of the game with recruiting and so forth. How much value do you think your program got out of the past week with all the attention?
No, it was great for our program, and it was earned. That was a top 10 team being us against a top 5 team on national television, and it was a heck of a football game. It was. And so I think let's not forget that. I'm proud of our staff and our players and all that, but I'd rather win, but I think it was great to answer your question. And, I think this team's earned respect for the first time in my tenure here. I can say that. I mean, last year we were ranked and lost a game by 1 point, and we dropped out of the top 25, and with 1 loss. And so, I think there is some respect for this team and what it can do. Obviously, it's just getting back on track now. And in the Atlantic Division, that's easier said than done. We're going to play back-to-back. This will be our second of 3 against undefeated teams, because the team we play next has a bye week this week at 5-0. So the schedule doesn't get easier.
Chip?
Yeah, Coach, I know you were a young guy when Florida State first came into the league in the early 90s, but do you have a good appreciation for what them entering the ACC did for ACC football in terms of the talent they brought in, other teams having to close that gap, and facilities and the other things that they did?
Chip, probably not the way you do. I have great respect and grew up being a great college football fan and watching all of Bobby's teams. And Coach Bowden is, a mentor and a role model in this sport for coaches. And so I've studied them. I used to love watching them play. And so many of their players are guys that I was fans of growing up watching. So I have a lot of understanding of that. But with regard to how it changed the ACC, I wasn't here for that and was part of other conferences during that time. So didn't really pay attention to that part of the question.
Do we have anything else for Coach? All right, Coach, I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.